The Big Stump Trail is one of the must-hike trails in Kings Canyon National Park. To be honest, at first we didn't know whether we would like this trail or not since it is mainly just a bunch of large tree stumps. However, Big Stump Trail has a lot more to offer than we thought. Besides the towering sequoias and the lush vegetation, the stumps of these giant trees are super interesting to see and the highlights of this trail. At 2 miles long, the trail is also short and very easy, making it perfect for beginners and families. As we get started on the trail, there is something to take note of, and it is that there are a couple of ways to hike the Big Stump Loop Trail. You can customize this trail based on your needs, but in this video we will be taking the longest route. The trail will be dropping down via a couple of switchbacks before you come to the first large unnamed stump on the right side of the trail. It was kind of funny because it didn't look that big when we were far away from it, but once we got up close, we were like, wow, that was a pretty big tree. The actual trail does not run directly past some of these first large stumps, but there are always some side trails that you can take if you want to go check them out. Even though this trail may not be strenuous enough to warrant a tracking device, we do highly recommend running an app like Strava or AllTrails to help keep track of where you're going. There will be some small trail markers along the way, but sometimes they can be pretty far apart. You will now be starting to see Big Stump Meadow on the right side of the trail. It is really beautiful, and I imagine it would be a pretty good place to spot some wildlife if you're visiting during the right time of day. The trail is going to start to get quite overgrown at this point, but luckily it's just ferns. These plants do not have thorns or stickers or anything like that, so you can just squeeze your way through. Speaking of squeezing your way through, about half a mile into the hike on the left side, you should see this massive hollowed out stump. It has a tiny little gap that you can squeeze through, but just know you're probably going to have to be a lot smaller than me. This one was even a bit of a squeeze for V to get in. For some reason, this tree had a creepy, almost Stranger Things upside down kind of vibe to it. Shortly after leaving this stump, you should come to the next point of interest along the trail, which is the conjoined sequoias. Something that's kind of interesting is that these are actually two separate trees that have just sort of melted together at the bottom. These trees were planted back in 1888, making them 136 years old, and believe it or not, that is very young for a sequoia tree. They can end up being around 3,000 years old. Just on the other side of the meadow from the conjoined sequoias, you'll come to another neat, unnamed stump. This one has another groove in it that you can climb into, and it would probably make a pretty cool little photo op. After leaving this stump, you will be coming to a junction. Going left will take you to a trail known as the Featherbed. But if you want to follow the trail that we're doing in this video, you're going to be going right. This will be followed by yet another junction just 1/10 of a mile down the trail, and you're going to be making a left and heading towards the Twain Stump. This is pretty much the lowest point of the trail, and you're going to be climbing all the way back to the car. But don't worry, because this trail only has an elevation gain of 300 feet. After you cross this wooden bridge, you have officially made it to the Twain Stump, which is one of the main features of this trail. At the time of the recording of this video, the wooden ladder to climb up onto the top was not in fantastic shape. If you plan on doing this hike when you visit and they haven't repaired it yet, please be careful because it was definitely a little bit rickety. After visiting the Twain Stump, you can either turn around and head back the way you came, or you can continue on. Just know that the hill that you have to climb on the way back is less steep if you do the full loop rather than the out and back. At right around the 1 mile mark, you should find yourself at the Kings Canyon Scenic Byway. You will need to cross here to continue on to the second mile of the hike. If you're not looking to do a long hike and you just want to see the Twain Stump, there is also a second trailhead here. Going from here to the stump and back will give you an overall distance of just 0.2 of a mile. Along the climb, you'll be passing a beautiful grove of young sequoias. It's hard to believe that in a couple thousand years, these are going to be as massive as the Twain Stump. Fun fact about the sequoia trees, as tall as they are, you would think that their roots go super deep into the ground. But that is not the case. On average, sequoia tree roots only go about 6 to 12 feet into the ground. Knowing that, it's pretty impressive that these trees don't just fall over all the time. At the 1.7 mile mark, the climb is going to come to a stop and you're going to be heading downhill again. We were definitely grateful for that. It isn't that the climb was steep, but this was pretty early into our trip and we hadn't acclimated to the elevation yet. Since we weren't climbing anymore, V thought it would be a good time to practice her martial arts skills before we saw the tunnel that would take us all the way back to the car. If you're looking for another great hike inside Kings Canyon National Park, we highly recommend checking out our video about Zumwalt Meadows. You can see that by clicking in the upper corner. And with that, our video about hiking on the Big Stump Trail at Kings Canyon National Park has come to a close. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because that really helps out the channel. Feel free to send us recommendations for future videos. And for all the information about this trail as well as other awesome adventures inside Kings Canyon National Park, head on over to livethatadventure.com.